Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse, and you are our wonderful Patreon patrons. Welcome to the Patreon bonus story. This is the best part of my week.
It is, and I think we should keep Blade Runner as the code word. Remember, everyone, if you're new to watching the show, we have a code word that we use so that when you're writing to us, you put Blade Runner as the subject title so that we know that you're a Patreon. That's your secret word. And we're going to, I think, keep Blade Runner. Now, I want to point out something that we kind of need your help with. We love the community mail time section of the show, and it's been kind of shrinking. We've been getting less pictures and videos from people.
Right.
And I think that's because we've been talking to you more, our Patreons, but Patreon itself is a really bad platform for sending pictures and videos and stuff.
Right. There's absolutely no way to share pictures on Patreon's site.
So we came up with a solution, which we think might work. So let's try it out. We'd love it if you'd use Facebook instead of Patreon, but use the code word.
Right. So we have our Facebook page. You can send messages to the Facebook page. We check that pretty regularly.
Right.
And we would love to see your pictures. Pictures work really well for community mail time. This is a very visual show.
Right.
So it helps when, and also video contributor stories too. I mean, I think we're slowly running out of those as well. If you want, go back and watch some video contributor stories. They're really, really wonderful to hear from you guys, your parts of the world, and whatever's going on there.
Yeah, and they're not as hard to make as you might think. I mean, basically, you can shoot. I mean, if you saw Wayne's video this week, it's just you shot it with the cell phone, took him 2 minutes. So,
exactly.
I mean, it's not that hard. Because we'd love to hear about, I mean, that's a specific use that only Wayne can tell us about that really might apply to other people in the world.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, we'd love that. We would love it if you would share with us, photos and stories and, road trip pictures and all sorts of things with us. We'd love that kind of stuff. But, yeah, Patreon itself is not the greatest place to do it. So head on over to Facebook, use the code word Blade Runner, and we'll be talking to you.
Yep.
All right. So what's this, Jesse?
So EVs blocked a gas station.
What?
Oh my goodness. But yeah, looks like the upper hand is on the other foot.
You were just full of, is that another Michael Scott reference?
No, that's, I think I made that one.
Oh.
I don't know what it's called. An improper colloquialism? Colloquialism. You try saying it. That's a hard one. Yeah, so this is in Croatia.
Okay.
And
why were they blocking a gas station?
They got a bunch of EVs to block gas stations to prove a point. They didn't block it for long. They blocked it for 6 minutes, which is not very long. Although if you look relatively to the charging times, it's about the same if you really think about it, because to pump up a gas car takes about 6 minutes, and to recharge a regular EV at a regular level 2 charger takes a really long time, and most of the time people park and ice those spots for a really long time. Right. So it's equivalent. Maybe it's not. But
why were they doing it?
They were doing this in protest because there aren't that many regulations prohibiting people from parking in EV charging spots.
Oh, icing you.
Yeah. So this was to prove a point, and I think that the point was made. It was a nice media splash, and I think that can, that kind of headline can really get people thinking about, like, oh, it is ridiculous to block a gas station. Therefore, why should But
I'll tell you, they do it all the time. I mean, when we pull into certain superchargers locations, like when we're heading down to New York and we stop, there's one like on the way to New York.
Oh, there's a bunch on the way to New York.
They're always just people park there as if like, who cares?
Right.
And then you usually give them like the weird eye for a few minutes, and then like
they leave.
Oh, what?
Yeah, that's kind of how it works. Overall, there are some people who, like, I don't know, there's a lot of clutchy pearl people who are just like, oh no, they're going to be mad at us now. And it's like, no, they're not. The number of people who are affected by this is going to be small. And the people who are doing this were really friendly, right? They didn't have pitchforks and torches, and they weren't burning things and yelling at people. They very nicely explained to people why they were doing this, and that they would be moving their cars very soon. So I think that this is...
I think we have to keep doing it. It's a campaign. We have to keep educating people about it, because most ICE drivers don't know much about EVs at all. They don't understand how they get their charge. They don't even know they exist. So.
Right. And we heard about this, but most people in the world did not hear about this whatsoever. And I think that this is a good thing, because it means that we can repeat this in different places where this needs to happen, because ultimately, so that way it's just covered by the local newspaper. They go, oh, goodness, awareness goes, right? Everyone hears about it now, and that will help pass legislation to prevent people from parking in EV charging spots.
I mean, because imagine someday when it's 90% EVs and there's like 3 gas stations left in your, state.
Right.
And, EVs just decide to park there and block you from getting, gasoline in your car. Like, you're going to be like, come on, it's not fair.
Right.
So, yeah, we talked about this next story, which is that Greta got Time's Person of the Year award, and I'm super excited about that. But there's been so much hate coming, on social media, mainly from white men. And I just want to remind people that you're probably seeing this too in a lot of your feeds, right? That people, you're just seeing like just angry men. What is this girl talking about? Blah, blah. And if you remember Gandhi, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. So we are in the third stage with this, which again, we've been saying for a while, we're in the third stage. They're not, laughing at her anymore.
Right.
And they're not ignoring her anymore. They're angry at her. Why? Because I think they've gotten to the point with human brain development where that's the stage where you're about to actually have your mind changed. Now, I know it doesn't seem that way. I know it seems like, well, you've just dug in and you're always going to be mad. But most people don't stay mad for 30, 40 years. They usually eventually get their minds changed. We saw this with Jim Cramer a few weeks ago, right? A guy who has constantly been against Teslas and now his wife's buying one. So it's like, okay.
Well, it's an interesting thing because we're never taught on how to change your mind.
Right.
And I know that, but Jesse, you can't have a class on that. Maybe you can.
Oh, sure.
I don't know. Maybe you could have a class where
psychology.
Someone walks into the classroom, they convince you of something, and then they change your mind of it.
It's a skill like anything else. If you practice it, you can get better at it.
And realizing why you're changing your mind about something.
Right.
Is it because you're doing it for someone in your life? Are you doing it because it makes sense? Right? Like, understanding what you're doing is a huge part of that. And I don't think that all of our ideas, unless you kind of cull through them from time to time and say like, why do I think that?
Exactly. Where did you learn most of what you learned? If I asked you a question about it, you would just kind of be like, well, I know that. I learned it at school, whatever. How much of that did you actually go back in first principles and learn for yourself? Right. Now, I understand we don't have time to do all that, right? I don't have time to learn how to cook rice, from first principles, right? Maybe I just want to look at a recipe and just follow it. But if you do go back and learn how to cook rice from first principles, you'll be a pretty big expert at it because after that, you'll know like, oh, okay, this is how it works.
And then you can kind of riff off of that. You can experiment off of that. And you can have, getting back to bigger topics than cooking rice, you can have intellectual conversations and develop more nuanced viewpoints.
So here's my thing about this Greta thing that I didn't want to put in the main show because I think this is a little bit more nuanced and harder to explain to people. But I think it is our duty to confront people who would publicly disparage Greta and her cause. And I would make it a point to actually confront them for this reason. They make your life miserable. That kind of person, the person who comes into work, or maybe they're in your family, who's just like, what is she doing, this young girl?
Right.
Blah, blah, blah.
You have to be quiet. You can't bring up certain things. You've dealt with this sort of person. Maybe it's not about Greta, maybe it's about something else, but you've dealt with this person before in your life,
right?
Whether it's the same person or not.
And so normally what you do is you just back off and you're like, I'm not going to bring that subject up, or I'm going to let them talk, and I'm not going to make a scene. But what I'm saying here is I think this is a very important issue, and I think that we're right at the cusp of winning, and this is the perfect place to win it. Because if they're getting mad at Greta, have them write down the top 5 reasons why they're disparaging her. Right. Just go up to Dan at work and be like, okay, Dan, I hear I saw on social media, or I hear that you're really upset, or do it on social media and be like, Dan, can you tell us the top 5 reasons that you're upset at Greta? Have them actually write down specific reasons,
and don't let them off the hook and get into an argument about that, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to make your life so miserable that they'll leave you, that you'll leave them alone, and that they will be able to basically push their views over you. Doesn't matter what you think. This is what I said, and it's final, and boom.
It's good for them because they will have to actually think and stop for a second and write down the 5 reasons. They might find themselves writing down little bullet points that they heard on their favorite talk radio or news network, where they're just given these little quick things that they say over and over again.
Right. And she's being coached.
Right.
It's like, okay, she has parents.
Right.
That doesn't mean she's being coached.
Right.
There's all sorts of this, like, conniving, evil bullshit.
Well, and Dan, you're being coached when you say that because you got that from Fox or wherever you got it from.
And so I think that Jim Cramer is actually a really good example for this because his family was the only reason that he changed his mind about Tesla because basically his wife and his daughters would not stop talking about Tesla and they wouldn't. His wife wanted a Model X. She's like, I want a Model X. I want a Model X. And he said that his daughter called from Spain and would keep arguing with him whenever he did something on the show.
Right. He would get a phone call afterwards.
Right. And this was right around Thanksgiving. And he knew that he would have to put up with this the whole Thanksgiving dinner that everyone, because let's face it, everyone else at the dinner table would be secretly or publicly laughing in his face. About how he does this goofy thing on CNBC where he talks negatively about Tesla, even though it doesn't make any sense. And I think that got to him. It finally got to him. And I know that it took a long time because for a while he had been mentioning these small little things. But that's the way that we change people's minds who have their minds made up already.
And he still had his own little argument that he held in reserve. Mm-hmm. He kept saying, well, I guess I'm supposed to just ignore their financials. And I'm sure that's what he used with his daughters and his wife. It's like, oh, fine, the car's great, but there is the financial argument against the company.
Right.
Great, whatever, Jim.
Right.
Now at least you've experienced the car. And that's a really good point. It was because of his family. It wasn't because of viewers writing in. It wasn't because of his coworkers. It's because the only people who could truly confront someone like Jim Cramer was his family. The only people who really could call the BS on him and be like...
And be in his face every single day. And I think that is where the strength of this movement comes from. And I'm not saying a movement like there's a singular one. Whether you care about electric vehicles, whether you care about climate change, whether you care about air pollution, whatever it is that you care about... You need to be convincing the people around you. Those are the people who you have the most influence over. Those are the people who will have their minds changed.
And the people like Jim are bullies. They don't just use really good arguments to get their point across. They just bully. They yell and they make fusses. I mean, if you ever notice him on a show, why does he hit buttons and pound things and make noises? He's a bully. And that accounts for a big sphere of influence. So when Jim or someone like him goes to work and he's talking about this one subject that he's pushing to everybody, everyone either shuts up and is like, okay, whatever, or they go along. Once you get rid of Jim as the bully on that subject, a whole bunch of other people who are on the sidelines going like, yeah, I'm just going to agree with Jim because he's always right.
Right. They're going to go talking. They start asking questions.
They're going to go, oh, Jim changed his mind on Tesla and on the environment or whatever it is. I guess I'm free to have that new viewpoint now.
Right.
And so you might have just changed way more than that one person. That's why it's worth going after that bully or that loud person because they have such a big sphere of influence.
Right. And also, I mean, yes, there is the making their life miserable kind of argument, which arguably they're doing to you at the same time. But it is going back to first principles and being like, what is your argument?
Right.
It's truly, what is your argument? Because most bullies, when you actually boil down whatever they're trying to do, it's just a bunch of...
Exactly. And let's look at Greta for a second. What's astounding to me is Greta started as a little girl sitting outside her Parliament building with a hand-painted sign all alone that just said, we need to wake up and do something about this. And she hasn't bullied people with her opinion. She said, please, don't listen to me. Listen to the smart people, the scientists.
Right. Do your own independent research.
She doesn't come to a place and go like, come on, everybody, get behind me, let's go. She just shows up and says, I'm here with my sign too.
Right.
So 14 months ago, no one knew who she was. Now she's Times Person of the Year, and she's 16 years old.
Right.
That should tell you something.
Right. And this issue that we've been talking about in this show for over 3 years is a super important issue. There would be no way that we would continue to do this show if it weren't the most important issue that we saw. I'm going to go a bit off topic, but I watched this channel. It's called The Modern Rogue.
Rogue, okay.
It's two guys, and they just do fun stuff the whole time. Right? They're just like, today we're going to be making smoke bombs. Or today we're going to learn how to use a whip. And it's like, oh, cool. This is right up my alley. This is stuff that I would want to do. And I would love to do that kind of stuff with my father here. Right? It would be super fun to be like, today we're going to check out how to use a ham radio. Super fun, super whatever stuff. But I couldn't live with myself if I did that. I couldn't live with myself if I just sort of and I'm not disparaging Modern Rogue, right? They're just two guys, and that's what they're very good at doing. But I couldn't do it. I could not do that if we weren't fixing something. Once we fix this thing,
right,
we can go on to do all sorts of fun talking stuff about all sorts of fun issues. But as soon as this is done, as soon as we can close the book on climate change, which is a big book and it's going to take a lot of effort to close. But once we can do that, we can move on with our lives.
Yeah.
This is a big thing that is hanging over all of us.
Right.
Whether we believe it or not, it's there. Yep. And that is the problem here, is that the people who don't want to believe it are just being like, let's do some fun stuff. Why are we all, and that's what we all want to do.
Well, that's a really good point. The reason why we have to confront these people, because it's not fun to do, the reason we have to do it is because they're slowing us down. They're slowing down this road that we're on to get to where we need to be.
But they're not slowing us down. They're blocking us.
Yeah, right. But I mean, so we need to, that's why we have to confront them, because they should not be in our way.
Right. And again, we've talked about this many times before. That's why we've chosen EVs as one of the main ways to show people, because it's the one thing that you can stick them in it, make their head spin, and then push them out and be like, there, look at that. That was an experience for you.
Right.
And then as soon as they get an EV, it's just a trail of breadcrumbs leading you to pretty rational ways of thinking. Like, well, if I buy an EV, I could power it with solar energy, which would be cheaper and cleaner and better for everything.
It's eye-opening, because as soon as you drive an EV, you realize that ICE cars are so old-fashioned. You can't go back.
It's like riding a horse.
There's no one. I mean, please comment below if you've driven an EV for any amount of time and then you're like, I got to go back to an ICE engine. There's nobody. I mean, because it's just so clear. And so when that's clear in your head, you go, what are there other things in my life that I haven't opened my mind to?
Right. Well, and also there are a lot of just direct things that just come straight off of EVism,
right,
where you're just like, I could get my power more efficiently.
Right.
I could use solar, and then it's freaking free from the sun that comes up every single day.
Exactly.
That's the strength that we saw when we experienced it for ourselves.
All right, let's go check this one out. This is another EV. Well, it's a hybrid, right? Mm-hmm. So this is more efficient than a Model S.
Let's take a quick look.
This lovely silhouette of a car is a limited production run halo car made by Volkswagen called the XL1. What makes it a halo car isn't that it has ultra performance or maximum speed. What makes it a halo car is that it's ultra efficient. It's a diesel plug-in hybrid that meets or exceeds 260 miles per gallon.
Wait, so this has got four wheels. For a minute, I thought it was a three-wheel car.
It has four wheels. The rear wheels are completely enclosed in the body of the car, which is super duper efficient.
Okay.
And it has a drag coefficient of 0.189. Compare that to the Model 3 of 0.23. So it's way more streamlined.
That nose does not look that streamlined, to be honest.
Well, keep in mind that with the enclosed rear wheels, with the shape of it, which
you get that teardrop.
You get that basically teardrop shape, and there's no room on the inside. There's no back seat.
Plus, it's super light. It's 1,700
light,
pounds.
But that doesn't have anything to do with the CD, and you don't have the rear view mirrors. That makes a huge difference.
Okay, but so explain this to me. This car is an actual VW car that they made. It's a production car. They actually sold like 200 of these.
Right. And the concept was to make the most efficient car that they could, and it was 260 miles per gallon. Now, that's diesel, but that's still really, really, really impressive.
So basically, it's a hybrid. It had a small ICE engine and a small electric motor and a small battery. But why did they do it?
They did this to show that they could be super duper efficient.
And do you think that these engineers went on to work on some of their other electric cars, or
what other electric cars? Here's the thing. This thing came out a really long time ago compared to for most EVs. And so why didn't they use any of this? Why didn't we see a car like this? Obviously, 260 miles per gallon is pretty darn great, honestly.
You know what's amazing to me? These big car companies have so many resources, so much money, that this car, which would have been a startup company's something they would have spent 200 people on for 4 years or something. It's just VW can just do that on the side.
Right. And they didn't need to make any money because they clearly did not make any money off
and they can learn so much from it.
Exactly. And it didn't transfer to anything.
No.
Right? It's not like the ID3 is going to be made out of carbon fiber. Right?
Right.
That's the thing that kind of bugs me.
Well,
is like,
you wonder if like one of these engineers went over and worked at BMW and like brought that technology with them or something. I mean, I don't know.
Right. It doesn't make any sense that you would make a car like this.
Right.
And the price tag was super duper high. Now, I understand these are being hand built and it's carbon fiber.
Right.
Anytime you say carbon fiber, just imagine that it costs twice as much as what you think it does,
Right.
and then add on whatever else. But it's just so frustrating that they had this super efficient, and I mean, it was a plug-in hybrid. So you could have plugged it in and used it for most of your daily use,
Right.
probably on electricity. Not that it's the most like, usable car.
Yeah.
But it's just really frustrating that they had somewhere in them, they had this idea to do something
Right.
this sort of positive way,
Right.
and then that just fizzled away. And the reason they stopped doing it was because Dieselgate. Like the reason they stopped doing it is because it's like, oh, but this has a diesel engine in it.
Right. They didn't go to the next step and go, well, let's just replace that with more batteries and a little bigger motor. Like,
Right. And that's the frustrating part, is that they are so behind,
Yep.
and yet they have all these resources to make these crazy, crazy cars.
I know,
What
because
is-
imagine if you're one of the engineers and they gave you, that was the head engineer on that project. It'd be
Right.
so fun.
Right. And to be clear, I like this concept. I mean, it's a true car, but it looks like a concept, which I love, and it functions like a concept,
And
which
it's
is
super efficient.
and
It's
super
hyper-efficient.
I'm so annoyed that they didn't continue with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. All right, let's go to this. This is innovation in insurance. This is a company, a UK company called Buy Miles. And so you know this, Jesse, right? If you drive very few miles every year, you can get a discount on your insurance, because the insurance company's like, oh, well, if you drive, I don't know, my insurance company, I think it's under like 5,000 miles, then they're like, oh, well, let's give you a benefit because there's less chance you get into an accident.
Oh, I see. I did not know that. But
Okay.
I also do not drive less than that.
Right.
I go on crazy
But
long
you know how it's like
adventures.
sometimes, some people might have a car that they don't use much or whatever, and so you can get a discount. So what's cool about this company is that this is done automatically. Instead of having to fill out a report at the end of the year and put your odometer, this logs into your Tesla account if you give them permission, and they can see, because they're in your Tesla account, how many miles you're driving, and so they can, oh, you're making a face, you don't like that?
It's just a little creepy.
Well, I mean, you give them permission.
To log into your Tesla account, know where you are.
Well,
know
here's what I
how
think
fast
Tesla
you're
should
driving,
do.
Know when you were there.
I think Tesla should have a guest version of their account or some way to log in that only gives limited information that you choose. And that way you could log in and say, like, I'm going to give them guest privileges so they can only see like my odometer reading or whatever.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, that's a good point. They should do that for all sorts of things about your account, because you would like them to be able, like, it would be nice to transfer, like, give you an account that would be able to unlock the car, but maybe you can't start the car.
Right.
Or maybe this one would allow you to unlock and start the car, but it wouldn't allow you to make a bunch of other changes or
Right.
something.
Or give, UPS the ability to unlock your car so when they come with a package, they can unlock it. Or,
Right, or like be able to unlock, do basically everything about the car, but not know the location of the car.
Right.
You can preheat it, you can, crack the windows, but you can't know where it is.
Right.
That would be one nice thing.
Yeah. This next video, super funny. Let's play a little bit of it. This is a guy calling up Ford dealerships. He called up 15 different ones. We're not going to play them all. 15 Ford dealerships, and he asked them some basic questions about the Mach-E or about electric cars.
To provide the very best service, this call may be recorded.
Thank you for calling. This is Melissa. Can I help you?
Hi, I'm calling inquiring about the Ford Mach-E.
A Ford Mach-E?
Mach-E?
Mach-E, okay. And, sir, have you been done business with Ford before?
No.
All right, and may I have your name, please? And is this a pre-owned vehicle that you're looking at?
Thank you for calling Ford. This is Anna. How can I assist you today?
Hi, I'm calling in regards to the Ford Mach-E. I'm just wondering if you have any more information on it.
I do not actually.
Sales is Brian. Can I help you?
Hi, I'm calling about the Ford Mach-E. Just wondering if you guys have any information on it.
The Ford what?
Mach-E.
Ford Marquis. We don't have one for sale.
No?
Oh. But Mustang GT?
No, Mach-E.
Mark E.
M-A-C-H-E.
What car? Yeah, we don't have one.
You don't have any information on it? Okay.
Oh, the MKZ?
Thank you for calling Ford. How can I help you?
Hi, I saw online that Ford's coming out with an electric Mustang. I was just wondering if you had any more information on that. Hello?
Yes, hold on one moment for me. I'm sorry. For in-depth information, let me see. The Ford website has the most information on the Mach-E. We don't really have much info on it here because we don't have any available in store. So most people who are going to order, we refer them to the Ford website to get all the information.
Have you had a lot of calls regarding it?
When it first unveiled, yes, but we haven't had many people, really call in about it.
I have, personally me, I have not had many at all.
Not yet. You're the first one.
Do you know how you charge it?
Let me see. I think maybe you should do 24 to the 30 because don't give you electric. Come on. What do you want to do now? Go here. Do some internet now. Charging is easy. It's essential. It says a 150 kilobyte watt DC fast charger.
Is that something I could do at my house?
Let me take a look here. So you can charge. That's amazing. Oh, okay, so it can charge 47 miles of range in 10 minutes. That's impressive. Wow, I did not know that. Yeah. Sign up on multiple charge networks. Constantly access to Ford fast charging network for easy, pay-as-you-drive charging. No, there's 12,000 public charging stations and growing. There's an interactive map that shows the charging stations, but it doesn't say anything about you being able to charge at home.
What? Okay, you can't charge it at home?
No.
So the gentleman that actually deals with all the inquiries to that is actually out of the office this afternoon. He'll be back again tomorrow. His name is Scott. He's the one that's had training and knows about that vehicle.
Wow.
Okay? Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
So our first hybrid that's coming out is going to be a version of the Escape, which is a hybrid and then also plug-in. So the Mach-E is kind of the future where they're talking about it significantly ahead of time.
Well, I've never actually had an electric car. I don't really know how they function. Do you know any? Can you walk me through it? Like, how do you charge them?
Well, so the most significant way is if you drive a lot of mileage, like you get on the highway, and then it's best to get a hybrid where you don't ever plug it in. It's just anytime that car can send energy back to the battery, which you then can use for forward motion. So as an example, we have a car called the Fusion. That car is a hybrid, so our regular Fusion probably gets combined somewhere around 28 miles a gallon. the hybrid will get like combined about 45 miles a gallon. Whether they're even better in the city than they are on the highway, but without, you're right around 45. Then there's a version of that car that has a larger battery, and you plug it in overnight. And then what happens is same thing. You can drive it where it's flipping between the gas engine and the electric engine, but you can just push a button, and now for your first 25 miles you can run electric. So if you just have some errands to run, you can like charge yourself up, go into a pure electric mode, go around town and come back. Now what's happening in the industry right now is everybody's switching, very similar to Tesla, where now you're putting almost the whole bottom of the car as batteries. So what you're increasing is its range. And so for example, the Mach-E, off the top of my head, I think it's going to have something like a 250-mile range. So same thing at the house. Generally, if you get to that kind of point, you're going to want to use like a 240-volt outlet, which usually there's one or two in your garage for other things. But you can still use a 110 plug. It just takes longer to charge up that big battery. But with a 240, it comes with all the plugs and everything you need. But that probably, and again, just me making up.
Welcome to Ford Lincoln. Lincoln customers, please dial 1. Ford customers, please dial 2. Or, if you know your party's 4-digit extension. For service, parts, or body shop, dial 1. For sales, dial 2. For accounting and vehicle registration.
So it turns out that after calling 15 dealerships, only 1 out of the 15 had enough information to even hold a conversation with him. Because,
right,
as you could hear, most of them were like, the what? The Mach what?
So when you wonder why EV adoption is so poor, it's because for most people, buying a car involves a dealer. So they're going to call some dealerships and they're going to be asking some basic questions because this is a brand new thing, right?
But get this, the dealerships don't want to sell the Mach-E because when they sell you the Mach-E, they'll get a little bit of money and then that's it. They'll never see you again.
Right. You're just going to get your tires done down the street by the guy who's always been doing your tires.
Right.
Because you don't go to the dealership to get your tires changed or rotated or anything.
And so this is a message, a little public service announcement to all of you dealers out there who might be watching. And I can't imagine.
Or if you know a dealer.
Right. The world's about to change. It is changing as we speak.
So stop being a car dealer, get out of the business, do something else because it's not gonna keep working this way.
Or if you do think that Ford and others are going to be able to sell EVs, you're going to have to change up your model. You're not going to be able to make money off of us by just gouging us with like service costs and stuff. You're going to have to think of other things that would make me want to come back to your dealership. Maybe one of them is that you're the dealership that's really good at selling EVs, that knows about them, can teach me about them. Because there will be people out there who need that hand holding. So maybe get really good at it and be the EV dealership in your area that's, awesome at it.
Right. Install a bunch of different chargers there, so you have CCS DC fast charging.
Have auto shows like in your parking lot.
Right. Or offer other services like, we'll come out and we'll install a car charger at your house.
Yeah.
That would be something that if dealers did, they could make a lot of money on because at the point where you're buying the car, you're already anting up a lot of money, and so you're going to be like, well, yeah, it'd be real convenient instead of now having to go home, maybe call up an electrician and figure out, because it's the same problem with electricians. A lot of electricians have no idea about installing, car chargers.
Yeah,
that would be one way for you to do it, or you could offer reduced cost to replace tires and stuff like that. I don't know. Something you need to evolve.
Innovate. Exactly.
Please.
Now, speaking of Ford and why they need to do that, let's check out this video. This is from Zuniga's YouTube channel. This is a Ford F-150 Raptor doing a tug of war with a Model X.
Also, I want you guys to grab this video, tweet it to Elon Musk, and tell him to play fair next time. To use a real man's truck.
Yeah, now, look at this. There's not even
let's just show him specs. Obviously, we don't have a Cybertruck to be able to compare, but we do have the most powerful SUV. that Tesla has at this
0 to
point.
60 in 2.9 seconds has a lot of torque.
P100D.
Yeah.
Right, what is it? 600 horsepower?
Something like that.
On this side, we have a Ford F-150. It is tuned to around 600 horsepower. It's heavy. It's a 4x4, and it's gonna be a smoke show. I feel bad even doing this to you, but I'm probably gonna jack up your chassis.
We should have just switched around. No, that's fine. I need the space. I need the space.
I'm gonna drag you down.
3, 2, 1. Holy crap. He pulled you. He pulled you.
What the? It has nothing to do with your truck. I have a mom car that you called it. Imagine with a truck what I can do.
I'm getting a
Good job,
I'm
Elon Musk.
getting a
Good
Cyber
job.
truck.
Jeff, what are you doing, bro? You're driving me insane, bro. Still can't find out what AOV means, bro. What the hell is AOV, bro?
Average order value?
What?
Average order value. Did you finish that spreadsheet that I gave you last week? Like 2 weeks actually.
10 more minutes, bro. 10 more minutes.
10 more? Tom, 10 more minutes, bro? Really?
Trying to find out.
It's 2 weeks. I would have done that in 30 minutes, bro.
Trying to find out what AOV means. I don't know what that is.
There's Google, bro. Come on.
Yeah.
We're taking forever, bro. Come on. We gotta get that done.
All this is you, bro. You keep pacing back and forth. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, bro. It's all your fault, bro. Just because you couldn't talk to that girl, bro. Go get that money. Talk to Jose. He knows what, that's the way he got married, bro. DM this chick. Go for it, bro.
Yeah, I don't really mind being taken care of.
I have good news and bad news.
Yes.
So I got a brand, and they're willing to pay $40K for a sponsor. Which
Get
is
the
a lot.
Jose
And
buying
that's-
himself a paddock.
And that's a lot.
What was
The
the
bad
bad
news. They're a competitive brand, and you have a long-term deal with them for next year.
Competitive as in,
They're a grooming brand as well.
and they're direct competition.
Direct competition. And they're loyal to us, so that kind of, it's very iffy if we should do that.
Damn, that's 40 racks though.
40 racks, and I take a fat commission check on those 40 racks. So I'm like, I look, you want to take that deal, but it's up to you.
I want to pad it.
Maria wants commission too.
Honestly, we can't take it. The thing is that,
Why not?
first of all, I'm loyal to that other brand, like
Okay.
because I genuinely like it.
Yeah.
If I bring in this brand, even if it's good, it just looks confusing. People are gonna think that we're selling out
We're
to
selling
any.
out, yeah.
It's not gonna be 40K is not worth it. And that's the thing that most people will never see how many brands we put to the side like
Yeah,
that.
of course.
They think that we just take the first brand, but damn, that would have been a fat Christmas. Just tell them no, we can't do it.
The point is that I'm really going to get myself a Cybertruck because if I could do that with that and leave that face down, I'm definitely going to love that Cybertruck. So I'm going to put in my deposit right now.
And like I told you boys, we're gonna be showing you the ad revenue for this month and see what you're gonna be able to win this month because you guys are the YouTubers. Also, first 28 days.
Last 28 days, $1,000.
And we're only producing more and more, which means that's gonna keep going up and up and more in your pocket. If you want to keep seeing that, just hit that poll up here and let us know if you like that. If not, well,
We'll keep the money.
we'll keep it.
Buy a Patek.
But also, don't forget to drop some ideas down below that you would want to see for the growth of this concept.
So keep in mind, that was a 600 horsepower four-wheel drive tuned Raptor. That is like one of the it's the big boy truck.
Right.
The truck for the big boys.
And the Model X doesn't even weigh as much as the Cybertruck's going to weigh. So
the wheels aren't as wide.
Right.
It's not, I don't know if it's as much, if it has as much torque.
Depends. I
It
mean,
doesn't
I think,
have as much
I think
towing
that-
capacity.
I mean, it doesn't have 3 motors like the Tri-Motor's going to have. So
Right. If this is any indication on how the tug of war is going to go.
Right, I mean, because the Model X is rated at being able to tow 5,000 pounds. The Tri-Motor Cybertruck is rated at pulling 14,000 pounds. So,
I mean, I think that there's not going to be too much competition. I also think that we need to stop talking about these stupid tug of wars within this circle because it doesn't.
It's fun.
For us, it's fun. And it is important outside of the circle because this is the one way that we're going to be able to convince truck owners into buying a Cybertruck.
Right.
Because it's going to basically it neuters the Ford F-150. That Raptor, not so sexy anymore, not so exciting anymore. Because
so why do we have to stop talking about it?
for us, we know that it's going
Yeah,
to
but
always.
this is. I mean, we got a tool in our toolbox.
Right.
Let's keep.
That's the outside circle thing. That's where videos like that are going to convince Ford owners to reconsider stuff about the Cybertruck.
Right, so go share that.
Absolutely. No, yeah. Like, this is, again, where we're talking about nuanced viewpoints. This is a nuanced viewpoint. Like, does it matter? Like, do we need to get super involved in talking about, like, is the Cybertruck, what's the most fair way? How much payload do we need to put in the Ford F-150? You know,
I hear you.
How long before we're just dangling it off a cliff with a, one of those 16-ton weights that you see in the cartoons?
Where is the video, though? I mean, I'm dying to see Tesla do this
I'm dying to
video.
see Tesla's video, because that will be, if they do it right, if they have the third party who's like, hi, we're the traffic people, we're boring, and everyone trusts us for some reason.
It'll be the nail in the coffin.
It'll be the nail in the coffin.
All right, let's check this story out. This is a Nissan Leaf with regen Christmas lights. Okay, so the video you just watched, you might be like, what? So the whole idea here was that Nissan wanted to show off how much power the Nissan Leaf gets when it does regen braking. And it's quite impressive. The stats are that for 11,000 miles of driving, which is what, a little less than the average U.S. driver does, you can generate 744 kilowatt hours of energy. And to show off what that means, they listed things like you can light 266 Christmas trees with 799 incandescent lights for an hour. Or you can power 297 ovens for an hour to cook holiday dinners. Or you can power 744 televisions for 5 hours of holiday movie viewing. So that's awesome. But in the video, did they show any of that?
No, they didn't even mention that. They didn't talk about it.
No.
You just got the sense that this was a big arts and crafts project for somebody.
Right.
It was like a bunch of interns, and they were like, okay, we're going to give you $500 worth of gift cards to Michael's. Go get some lights and stuff.
Here's what bugs me. Mm-hmm. You put all that effort and time and money into making a polished video. You did a poor job of it, so that at the end of it, it doesn't sell any of the points you wanted to make. All I see is a car which I can't even make out in Christmas lights.
And it's cute.
It's cute, but like the whole point you wanted to make was what I just said. So why didn't you show the car doing regen, put up some of the right, like have a voiceover, put up some text or something that would get the point across, so that when you share this video, because it's only a minute long,
right,
you'd have I learned something today.
Right.
Instead, Nissan, you just bumbled it. And that's what marketing companies do all the time. They're just missing the point.
They don't understand it. They don't understand it themselves.
Right.
I think that is one of the key aspects. There is an engineer somewhere who wrote down all of this stuff about the Christmas trees and the incandescent lights and the ovens and all that.
And they're like, wouldn't it be cuter to show painting a light bulb?
So then they went to the marketing person. They said, here's my concept. And they said, okay, here's what we're going to do.
So we're Christmas lights on the car.
Yeah, we're going to put Christmas lights all over the car. It's going to be cute. It doesn't tell us anything. That's the thing that we're annoyed about.
Yeah.
Speaking about clueless.
You remember our senator from the great state of Massachusetts, Ed Markey.
The Commonwealth.
The Commonwealth. Yeah, we're not a state. We're a Commonwealth. You remember that he was kind of rallying against Tesla a few weeks ago at a NHTSA hearing, and he was like, I want to make sure that oranges can't be used in the steering wheel anymore, and that bottles of water can't be used because I saw it on YouTube. And we debunked that. It's 2 or 3 years old, Ed, and that's not being done anymore. Well, now he tweeted this out. As Electric points out, he tweeted this out. He said, autopilot clearly can't be allowed to replace drivers on roads. This tech will continue causing harm until Tesla takes action to fix its flawed system and make sure drivers are paying attention. That's why I sent a letter demanding Tesla take action to protect the public. Well, thank you, Ed, for sending that letter.
And this is because apparently, allegedly, a driver had his car in autopilot, allegedly, and wasn't paying attention. He was looking back over his shoulder at his dogs for some reason, smashed into the back of a police car.
Yeah. So, first of all, we don't know for sure whether he was an autopilot or not. But secondly, every day, as Electric points out, there are 16,000 accidents in the U.S., and Ed Markey doesn't seem to want to tweet about any of those.
No. He doesn't care about the 6 million car crashes a year that happen. He just cares about this one case, and also the fact that maybe you can stick an orange in the steering wheel, and that's dangerous.
I think Ed should have to tweet out every time a Tesla doesn't get into an accident that it would have, because Teslas, as we know from the data, get in far less accidents in autopilot, 8 times less accidents, Ed. So you should be tweeting out 8 times more of the non-Tesla accidents going, great job, Tesla, for not getting into an accident.
Or how about texting and driving? Okay, if this is a misuse of technology, if using autopilot incorrectly, which I agree is not good, if that is so awful, then I think that we should not be allowed to use our phones while we were driving.
Right.
I think that basically anyone with a brain would have to agree with me, whether they wanted it to or not.
Right.
That is the fact that more people get into accidents because of these things, which are in every single freaking car on the road, than autopilot, which is in a tiny minority of Tesla cars. It's just insanely frustrating, and it just points to the fact that he is being paid off.
Yeah.
There's no other reason that he would care about
There's only
this.
2 explanations I can think of. Either he's an idiot or he's being paid off.
That's the 2 things, and I hate that. I hate having a senator that I think is an idiot. I'm going to have to avoid him.
Or that is being paid off.
Right. Well, I mean, why? Why would this be the one thing that you're championing?
Like, wouldn't someone on his staff, just some other senator at lunch at the secret Senate dining room,
Just
say,
be like, hey,
say,
cool
Ed,
it, bud.
Yeah, like, why don't you get in my car today? We'll go for a ride, and I'll tell you a little bit about autopilot, because you got it completely wrong, and you're embarrassing yourself.
Really embarrassing
and
yourself.
It just embarrasses me living in the state to have a senator who, I mean, he's great on, green energy and stuff like that, but on this, he's just freaking clueless. No, it goes back to the point from the CEO of Cruise. Like, if today we were starting from scratch and we're like, I have an idea. We'll burn these fossil fuels. We'll have explosions in the car. And and you'd be like, well, there's going to be emissions. You're like, I have an idea. We'll take some platinum and we'll put it in a catalytic converter. No, I know it's expensive. I know. It's $1,000. But just listen. And it'll take most of the stuff out. And then you'd be like, yeah, but doesn't it have to warm up first? Doesn't most of the pollution happen in the first mile? Yeah, I know.
Okay. Well, we'll have an electric heater that'll heat it up. But won't that be more expensive? You're right. Okay, forget that idea. Like, there's so many things where it just doesn't. You're like, really?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, take it back to first principles. If we were starting today and we came with the system, no one would go past the first page. You'd just be like, no, we're not. That's stupid.
This is stupid.
But that's
we're going
what
to
we've
stick
got.
with the horses for now until we find a better idea.
Exactly. And we had it, too. We freaking had electric cars back then.
I know. That's the frustrating part.
So
and
frustrating.
if the battery technology were just focused on, instead of oil going out there and squashing electric cars, squashing electric trolleys, we would have such a better stepping off point. If climate change wouldn't be such a frickin' crisis.
If we had parallel universes, I don't know if that's true or not. But if that is true, and somewhere there's a universe where electric cars took off in the early 1900s instead, and all of those young engineers from then on were learning about batteries and stuff like that, imagine the world we'd be in right now.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, we would. If anyone knows of that universe, please just connect us. Connect us.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for supporting us and watching this. We're just so glad to be able to reach out to such wonderful people every single week. That's why we do the Patreon bonus stories.
And if you have given $5 or more a month, and you're waiting for your shout out, and you're like, guys, I gave it back in August. We are catching up. We're back to we're backed up to about August right now, and we're trying to do as many shout outs every week as we can to make it special, but also to catch up. So don't think we've forgotten about you. That's where we're at.
All right, so we're going to get back to Tesla Time News. We're going to wrap it up, but thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for supporting us and making this show possible for more people, because it's not, again, we do this show for you, but more people get to watch it because of you help support us, and you make the show look so nice. You help make the show edited so well. All of the things, you have accomplished that. So thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Now you know.